And welcome to the show. Bass and Bonsai, we're still in the house. We didn't go fishing this morning, but this package arrived last night at like 9:47 or like late. So this Tacklewarehouse package was ordered. And those of you new to the channel, yes, we'll get the good, the bad, and the ugly on fishing related stuff on this channel. Overall, Tackle Warehouse, I guess, is doing better and better, get bigger and bigger every year. But I'll be honest, their shipping sucks and sucks more every year because this package was ordered the 22nd and it is now, what, the 1st. So, I mean, you're pushing getting close to AliExpress type shipping. They're nowhere near Amazon. I don't know what they need to do to improve if they're going to, I don't know, just get you stuff in a timely manner. But anyway, I guess we're just glad it showed up. It's not like a rod that's going to get there broken. But our Tackle Warehouse order made it. I would like to have it for fishing on Saturday. But anyway, we're going to jump into this and check out everything we got. And those of you that missed last night or yesterday's thing, we'll talk about what we did and didn't use. And if any of you have any questions as you jump on here, feel free to ask them. The one downside to any of the live streaming stuff is like whatever you guys, the little conversation piece anyway, I don't know how to go back and look at it. It has to be like comments after the fact deal on the videos, but just take a gander in there at all the miscellaneous small stuff we've got from Tackle Warehouse. Throw that over there. So let's just kind of start going through what we got. Now, some of this stuff, I'd seen something similar to it. Maybe it was at Bass Pro or Rogers, but they don't carry that specific thing. So that's typically when I do my Tackle Warehouse stuff, right? If they don't have it at Rogers, I got to get it somewhere. Bass Pro, I'll be honest, they're crazy. Trying to navigate through their online stuff is, I think it's holding them back, in my opinion. I know they don't need any help, right? They're not being held back, but Tackle Warehouse does have a very good, when you jump on there and track down, you could, like, it's categorized, it's easy, it's fairly fast. Bass Pro, like, it just takes forever. So anyway, enough about all that. We went to Tackle Warehouse and ordered, I mean, it wasn't a ton. A lot of you guys probably order way more money's worth, but like the various things, you're going to see a lot of different stuff, like just $100 worth of stuff so I could try other stuff to force into my tackle box that is already overstuffed, right? You guys know the deal. You guys know the struggle. So just to get them out of the way, this was just a thing because they were on a more or less a clearance, and since I jumped back into the Thunder Crickets, the half-ounce Gold Series, I don't know if that'll catch any fish, but I always just wanted to get that one. My plan is to, crappie imitation possibly in the half-ounce, and then their version of a spot remover in the 5/8 ounce. Just because I don't have any white Thunder Crickets and I wanted to get a half and a 5/8 just to cover those bases. I can always switch trailers to make them brighter, more, natural looking, or I can replace skirts if I need to. They're not tied on. So I could either tie these skirts on or just put on other skirts and tie them on, or just leave them where I can slip skirts on and off. Sometimes keeps the chatterbaits a lot more versatile and you can always just cut the tied on ones off too. It's not a huge deal. But if you want to be able to switch skirts back and forth, it doesn't do a lot of good just to tie one on if in a week or a month you're going to just peel that off and stick a different one on, right? So we got those. Let me just pull everything out of this box. I'm going to try to go in a little bit of an order here. So we'll save this stuff for last. A new company to me. I never bought anything from them ever in my life. I think they've only been out a year or so. But let's go with this dude, just because it's also Strike King. This is the new, made in Costa Rica. Yeah, the new, I think I kept wanting to say Andy Montgomery, but Andy Morgan flipping jig. I wanted to try it out. I was intrigued at how close he got the weed guard to the hook, and I just wanted to give those a try. So I just got one just to get it. I already have like too many jigs. I'm not a huge jig fisherman, and I've got close to as many jigs as I do chatterbaits. I've got a bunch of jigs. So anyway, picked up one of those from Strike King, and I think this is in cahoots with Tackle Warehouse, isn't it? That it's just through them or something. I'm not 100% sure, but I forget the name of that color. But just kind of all around. I could add orange, I could add green pumpkin, or I could add chartreuse or whatever, just to brighten it up. Whichever way, just kind of one of those more all around jigs. So then let's go with, just so I could have a few smaller, heads to use on my swim baits. I got the 1/8 ounce, but still with a fairly decent hook. So I should be able to throw this on, well, I got rid of the what you call it, or might get rid of it, but a few different rods I got, just a lighter weight for the smaller swim baits. Hybrid jig head from Berkeley. Get all that box empty. So before I jump into, I guess I shouldn't have jumped into that first. I also, after hearing, this was another Matt Allen costing me money. He talked about this bait. I'm gonna go ahead and open this one. So the Bling from River to Sea. I'd seen it before, but I've honestly never tried their spinnerbaits out. My goodness, their packaging is good. Come on. But what made me decide to, like, well, I want to try those. And I don't know, we'll see how well this one is. They don't want that spinnerbait to move around. So that's kind of cool. It's got gills. Sharp hook. I honestly prefer when they've got the kind of like straight down from where the hook is, where it's right there. But I guess there's less chance of, if the fish's lip were to catch on that instead of getting hooked, but it's usually not a deal. But when they're way up here, a lot of times you're limited to what kind of trailer you can put on your, whether it be a chatterbait, a spinnerbait, even a jig for that matter. But that will definitely get the job done. I like this style more than the ones that are going to just destroy your baits because how they're made. Pretty good sharp hook, but the main reason I wanted to try these is because I heard Matt Allen, and I think he showed it in one of the videos, of how thin these blades are, and I'm like, oh, that's just like the SV3, from Mega Bass, or the SV3 knockoffs, which I have, very thin blades. I'm like, I wonder what that one, goes like, because these do start up very fast. There's less weight. It'll literally start like really twirling pretty quick. So I just got one to try. I mean, I don't, if they were somehow to impress me over the knockoffs, would I switch this? I don't know. I just wanted to try one out. Ish Monroe Bling from River to Sea. And then, since we need more swim baits, I wanted to try the Swammers, just to start with the little bitty guys, and I just thought that color would be pretty good. It's not far from my favorite color for other baits. And then you can't go wrong with that Pro Blue Red Pearl. It's sort of, a lot of these are similar to like an electric shad type color, but just that more natural, and then more like a bluegill goby type thing. Wanted to try those out, so we just got a couple different ones. If I really like the way these work, or if I'll be honest, I put them on little jig heads, and if they just get bit, then I'll go with the bigger ones maybe. Then, let me get woke up here. No Fireball today. I put Fireball on the header, but no Fireball this morning. Just Diet Coke. I'd wanted to try these in a couple different sizes. So for like little bitty stuff, but then also, I'll be honest, I'm going to try, but the problem with these is they don't give you enough of a head to put something on unless it's really elastic, because anything you go to put on there is probably not going to stay very long up at the head. Elastic will for a long time, but so I just wanted to try a couple of different bullets, the finesse bullets and the pro bullets. 1/4 ounce, 3/0 hook, and then a 10th with, I believe that is considered a 1, maybe a 1/0. I can't remember what they said on the packaging. But definitely going to utilize those. And then since I had been to, I thought I got more than one. Maybe I didn't. Oh, yay. At Rogers, they have these, but not this style. They've got just the regular heads, and then they've got they were clearing out the up spinners, I call them, or whatever. But the jaw dropper underspin, 1/8 of an ounce, 2/0. Should be good for smaller swim bait stuff. I just got 1 pack just to see what I would think of those. I think these were maybe on, they were cheaper for some reason. And then this bait was on cheaper, and I've always liked they've had versions of these going around here and there, but I wanted to try one of those. The knuckleball jig, and it's got our name on it, Bassin, and then somewhere just put Bonsai. But I just got 1 pack just to give them a shot. You know, you can rig up you could rig up a lot of different things, but like you could rig up this, you could, well, almost anything. Rig up these, you know, different little things, probably even put a swim bait or whatever, but I just wanted to give those a shot. If I like them, I'll get more. If I don't, we're never going to get anything. And then I wanted to try Tactical Bassin's true little finesse jig head, so I just ordered 1 of those just to try it. The underspin in the hitch color. So we should be able to do good with this up until the time we lose it, since we only have 1. And you know the deal. If you only have 1 of anything, that's going to be the first thing you lose. You see how it does have the blade gets out of the way. I don't know if you'd want to bend that, but I guess technically you could tweak it to adjust the blade if you really, you know, wanted to get finessey, changing it up a little bit. So there's kind of it up against. Very similar hook, totally smaller head. And then this, see how that stays up there. And then this drops down to where you could, whatever you run, this blade's going to be able to be free and work right. So try those out also. Then the main thing that I think started this whole order, I think I put the Strike King Thunder Crickets on there, but what kind of more or less started the whole order was this thing. I wanted to try the Core Tackle Shimmy Rig, and I saw they had them on Tacklewarehouse, so I was like, well, might try that. And then I started watching some of the videos talking about the Core Tackle stuff, and I was like, okay, well, what's this Ozark rig? So I got that, and then if you guys know the deal with me trying to get these different swim baits, I'm like, I don't want to have to do the Alabama shake. I want the bait to move itself. That's part of why I thought, after listening to people say that this one, just to swim on some of these different swim baits I was wanting to try. But then, what's funny is I'd sat and watched the video with I can't think of his name now, but the guy fishing it that invented it or whatever, but I never had really paid much attention to it until one of you guys commented that it does real well. But the dude that was fishing this, I watched talking about it, and I'm like, well, I will give these a try. I don't know, for me, it feels kind of weird that this big old thing just honking deal sitting down there. I guess technically you could put a spinner on it too. But like, why wouldn't you just put a swim bait on it and then just put some lead in the back of the swim bait? But if they've already got it made up, I will just give that little dude a shot. Could be, all this Core Tackle stuff could be a waste of money if I don't want to take time to jack with it. This is one of those orders where it's just kind of like, get it in, mess with it, see how I like it, if I like jacking with it, or if I just want to stick with something that traditional stuff. So then the Ozark rig is sort of the same. You rig up your, I think the videos, they recommend like whatever you're rigging up, you're literally going to end up like with it basically sticking all the way through kind of deal. So instead of how you'd normally come through, I think they recommend you to go like all the way through, push it up, but then it could tear some, I guess some soft plastic just isn't going to be as forgiving as this stuff. This one, I think I cut the front off, but you know, just to give it a whatever, I'll try it. You guys know what I'm talking about. Those of you that know about the core tackle stuff. But it's one of those, you know, you can rig up all of your different stuff, even if you want to take one of these that's traditionally a straight down and the legs are flapping. Because one thing you can always do is remember, you can always just cut these off. If you have nothing but stuff with flappers and you want something with dead action, just cut the, you know, don't cut this off, but just flatten those out, cut them off, and you're basically going to have a lot less action if you're wanting that. Now, I may order, I haven't done it yet, but I like these little bitty ones. The Fuzzy Beaver, and then this is a little fuzzy, I think they call it, smaller version. But I like them because they've got the flippy thing on one side and then not on the other, and then the opposite side on the other one. But then these are just a overall pretty good durable soft plastic from Riot Baits. So this jig, and I basically same thing. I kind of got their bigger one, 4/0, 3/8 ounce, and then their little like finesse one, 2/0, 1/4 ounce. To see if I can find me a swim jig that I actually like, because I'll be honest, I have not found a swim jig that I like. I found a lot of jigs I like, and then I'll just swim them along sometimes, but I've not really found a true, and this one, I kind of like this color. If you guys remember, our one bluegill color on our chatterbait that did real well had that purpley flashy stuff in it. But these are supposed to have some magic in them, they claim. That dude looks like it's got way too much of a skirt material to have too much magic for no heavier than it is. But we're going to try them. They're going along with all of our other baits, and I guess I should grab some of those to show you guys that we've picked up. If you want to still get them on AliExpress, there's some of them still fairly cheap. Just a few different swim jigs we've gotten to try. I'm still not sure about this color even, but I'm going to, before I jack around with even worrying about doing any of that, we're going to give the color a shot, but give the bait a shot. They claim the magic is in the weight back here and all that. So we'll get that dude rigged up. So it's not a true heavy cover, right? It's just a swim jig with a, wire weed guard, which I like that. If you guys watch the show, I've talked about it several times. The Jewel baits, I used to just get their little finesse jigs and then take the skirt off and use them kind of like a swim bait jig head, just so I could have a little bit of a guard on the bait, because I feel that gets out of the way fairly easy for a hook set. So anyway, we've got basically just 3 different versions of the stuff from Core Tackle, because a lot of people, there's people buying it. I don't know how well it works. There's Matt Steffen Fishing, that him, and I guess there's a company, I guess it's maybe not just him, but anyway, it's definitely, a lot of the stuff is on the bestseller deal. So the marketing's good. How well the bait catches fish, other than watching him catch fish, we'll find out though. But that's just like all the stuff. 6 Cents, they got them guys out there. Oh wow! And then you go out and fish it, man. Like, this bait sucks. Trust me. You're talking to a guy, or you're listening to a guy that got conned in by Roland Martin and bought the helicopter lure. I think I tried the banjo minnow, which that's the new 6 Cents thing. Is basically a banjo minnow, just their technology now can make it look like a very realistic, color scheme and all that. But the banjo minnow, that was a crazy one. And then the flying lure, you guys remember that? And that one I felt, and I still think there's a place and time for that, because it's basically just like a flattened tube that as you pulled it, when you let go, it swam away from you. So you could cast it right by, instead of skipping under a place. If like, because some things you will literally, like even dock. So if you got a dock that's flush with the water, you can't skip under that. But the flying lure, the concept was, it was basically a flattened tube, with this insert in it that was also like flat. So, but you tied away. The weight was kind of like it would go away from you. So you'd cast right by the dock, and then as you let it sink, it would, go away from you. And then when you lifted it up, it's coming back to you. But then when you let go, it would go back. So in theory, it sounded pretty good. I briefly fished them. They just didn't have that fish attracting drawing power. They probably needed to do the same thing with the regular looking tube. But it does make sense. There's been a lot of times where trees or just stuff is touching the water, like especially flooded deal, where it'd be nice to have something that swam into, the cover kind of deal. But there's a lot of stuff you can just kind of do that with anyway. So yeah, enough about that. Try to keep this a simple video. Let's take a look at one of these swammers. Let's look at this color. Just look at them. When you're dealing with soft plastic, you got to take a gander at it. You got to get a little sniff of it. Let's see. Nope, doesn't smell great, but doesn't have any, like stuff on it. Let's consider they're 275, and let's just see if we'd put it on this. Definitely pretty good fit. I'm not going to put any on yet, but swim it on that. Way too small in my opinion. This looks more like a 3.3 to a 3.8 in my opinion. I guess you could even go bigger, but this, no. Could you put it on this? Just to throw it around. Maybe. Let's see if we could put it on one of these. How in the world is that sealed? We don't need no stinking staples. First jump. I lost the bait. I will get these out. These are all going in the tackle box. They will be used and tried. If they don't work, they will be going out of the tackle box. Or if I just don't like them. So this would also be an alternative, rigging them up on that. So these for like these smaller, the very finessey swim baits. Those different heads, way too little. Even this little finesse one, you probably want to start out with a, I don't even have any over here. I put up all my stuff. Start out with something bigger. And another trick, I guess it's not really a trick. You guys probably know about it, but let's open up these. I sometimes like to, instead of just buying the little dudes, the 275s or the, get the 3.3s and then just cut them down to where you got a little bigger tail on the end, but it's still a little profile overall. But I just wanted to get, so I got a few of the little bitty dudes. Should I say that? No. I'm going to say that's kind of a cool smaller deal. I wish they'd do a lot of swim baits, stuff like that. But these dudes, black head, I don't even know why I got the ones with the black heads, but those would be just small enough to work. So yeah, I'll get it and show you. I don't really have a ton of the super finessey. I've got the underspins coming from AliExpress. But I don't have a ton of the small stuff. I'll be honest, when I first started using swim baits, kind of sorted by themselves. Well, my first swim bait ordeal periods were actually, let me grab one and I'll show you. let's go through the history of me using swim baits. I just got a couple of nasty packs laying around. But Reaction Innovations were my first little, I was just using these, basically, I liked them, like a 4/0, 5/0 hook, weightless, Texas rig, throwing them in the nastiest stuff like you would a frog, and then just pulling them through, and wherever they would drop, letting them drop. But these in the regular size, and then whatever the smaller size, and then at some point I did also try the Bass Pro ones that are basically copies, and it just this is a Houdini, and I think these have faded over the years. These are old. These are just old bags that I don't know why I haven't got rid of. But it's still a thing that just works. I just don't do it near as much. But then I didn't get on the, craze with all the swim bait and all this and that because chatterbaits, that's why. Anyway, I don't really have a bunch of smaller stuff. I did pick these out of my, just some of these smaller, basically, I call them like crappie jigs. Little Roadrunner underspins, and then whatever this other, that hook has me. Ooh. Little super finesse. This is true like BFS stuff here, but not only, just like I mentioned, you could cut down a 3.3 to go where in place of a 2.75, you can also cut these down if needed to go even smaller, right? So don't know when or where I might need those, but if there's ever the time I need to get down and dirty, stuff like that. And here's ones like the jewels I talked about. I like to just get these. Because to me, these, even though they're more or less, they had a skirt, you got the little mark, put the skirt, and then you put whatever trailer. I like to just have these and then just stick the bigger, like the 3.3s or 3.8s on this. And I just felt like, I don't know, it got through a little bit of the gunk a little better, and there was never an issue with hookups or whatever. And these little finesse, you could throw it like on fairly light wire. I don't know, just light line combo. I would just track those down and use those. So I still have some left. These horrible nightmares of whatever these are, I've still not found a time or place where I actually like these. I've only tried them a couple times, but they just look so gaudy and nasty. They're from AliExpress. But since I still have them, here's the one that I'm getting replenished with, because Charles, he's like, oh yeah, I got the small ones he showed me. He's like, I got them from you. I'm like, Charles, why didn't I keep some? I guess I wasn't worried about throwing anything this small, but I still think there's probably a smaller one of these out there somewhere. I can't track them down yet anyway, but I put this honking deal on there. This one may struggle with it, but I've never lost a complete swim bait off of this. I've lost the tails, but once you start upsizing your twist lock deal, it's a game changer. Because when we first started, it was actually Charles. Charles really started doing that, and I was like, okay, so I got some too, but he was just buying, I think he was getting I don't know, I think he was getting them from Everhart's, but what they come with stock is horrible, because every time it never failed. All it really took usually is one fish, and the heads would be ripped out of the front. He'd try to, finagle them back and this and that. And then, once we did some research and like, okay, you can buy the bigger. So I went on AliExpress, and I don't know, I've got ones that you can't even use possibly for anything. They're so huge. And then I've got, all the different sizes in between. But I usually try to stick the biggest one I can in one of these. And it will just, once you screw that in, that is not coming off. It'll rip out this way before it pulls back out of that. But I have a 10-pack of these coming. And I've got, what they have is on a number 2 on it. These are called, they just have a number 3. And it's misleading on AliExpress. Some places call that a 1/0. Some people call this a 2/0, depending on what store you go to. But that's so far the smallest one that I could track down on AliExpress anyway. But then these are like a number 3. On the, I think it's 2 gram, 3 gram. That's a 1/0. This is supposed to be a 2/0 or 3/0. I can't remember. And then the size bigger, because I was buying these in a pack. You could get all of the bigger sizes, and then these are number 4. But I think it was these is where I started, like the 3/8 are pretty good for that, or these are like the 3/3. These are just too big for anything like this. Like, you're not having any tail. That's way too big for the little dudes. This is the only one that is sort of okay, but I still think there's a smaller option out there that would work way better. That's a lot of hook for no bigger than that little 275s are. But that's all I got for the under spins, and then I've got the, a little bit bigger for the bigger. So I've got a void of the in between. Literally, then there's a huge honking 10/0 in there. And I think these are 6, maybe. I can't remember. They don't say anything on them, but I've got a few of those. And I honestly don't even remember if, when, where these come from. Probably AliExpress, but they may not have been Ali. It may have been Rogers. But then I've got these under or overspins, I call them. I just briefly tried those. I don't know if I'm gonna like those or not. And then here's what I used for like as soon as they came out, I just bought a couple. And then there's even a video where me and Charles talk about the hookup ratio with these dudes. I mean, it's kind of good, kind of not, but I don't even know if I was using the right rod for it. When I first started paying more attention to it, I just would throw them every once in a while. But I'm still not sure if I even like these that great. I do like the fact, see how they've got the thing that goes down and clears the bait, is why I originally got them. And then these are ones I just picked up at Rogers. They got the huge honking hook, the little bitty old head. You can get the bigger heads, but I just was like, let's just get a couple of those. They were cheap to try. And then, of course, the Willow Vibes. And then I only got a couple left, but the Mega Bass. Oh, yeah, I had to redo this dude because the little plastic. Let me get him out. It's just like a little plastic ball on the end. I had to redo that with thread so it would stay up instead of the little plastic ball. Because that somehow fell off. I'm not sure how, what, when, where it happened. But I just did my trick like what I would put a little ball on the back of a hook to keep a bait on. I just put the little ball up there, and then it already has its little hook keeper, or a bait keeper anyway. But I do kind of like these. I need to invest in a few more. Not these. I just got a while back to try a couple years back actually, and just not a fan. They're just straight. Now I just never did it because once I got them, I'm like, that is nothing like this. So I've only briefly cast these ever, tried them with anything. But what I was going to do, and you can do it very easily, is tweak these, one of them somehow, even maybe cut a little edge off with the Dremel, make them completely different, weighted wise, just like what these are. If you guys see, that's what kind of gives this one its, see how one's like angled and then they're different. So these are starting out perfect, the same. And that all that's going to do now, so that'll still get a little attraction, give a little flash, but it's just going to spin. It's not going to add anything. So what you want to do is, if even at the slightest, is a get away and just tweak one to where it's changed, the shape's changed, it'll catch water differently. Now, you don't want to go too crazy, but what I'm thinking about doing, I probably should do, but I just don't even really care for these. Probably should just throw them away or throw them in my giveaway box. But I have them there just if that day that I'm like, okay, I lost all my Okashiras and I need something to throw some kind of bait on that resembles that. Now I've got 50 million of these are all like, what, 350 a piece? And what's funny is I didn't even realize I had this many until I just started pulling them out of all my BFS boxes and all my different stuff. But I've got a lot of the, just in their different colors of those little micros. Because you can, I just never really liked them with the skirts, but I like using them just as, jig heads. And because that's still my favorite way to go. And I'm just trying this, standard way people are using them, but literally my favorite thing to do is throw whatever size this on this. And if you even want to use a big one, just make sure you rig it like lower to where that you leave more hook exposed. And you could literally throw, probably the four somethings, even on a little micro. Yeah, it's going to be a tough fight if you get that fish hooked, but it's really like the 3.3s, the 3.8s. It's a little too, in my opinion. You're trying to be finessey here, so there's no need to really use it on a chatterbait, in my opinion. I mean, you could technically, but I would say start out with the 3.3s and the 3.8s, those little Z-Man micros, or these Willow Vibes. They're a little bit, I think they're about the same hook. They've got definitely a bigger head. These are 1/8 ounce. These are 1/4 ounce, I think is where they start. They've got a bigger head, but a smaller blade. They do give off a different vibration, but they have pretty much the same identical hook. They'll do pretty much the same thing, just give off a different vibration. But anyway, that's why I hesitate. I never really bought any of those. I don't remember how long ago I've been just buying these to use. And I did not even realize I have that many. I'll never buy any more of those. I'll probably just go with the Willow Vibes if I need any more. Because I think it's cheaper to buy these by the 2-pack than it is by these singly anyway. But I just was getting a few here and there. Then I buy another few. And then one thing leads to another. And you've got way too many. So here are the swammers like we just got, and here's the little Meredith bait. So if you go on AliExpress, I want to say they call this 75 millimeter, which is it's a 275 is what it is. But I like that color, and these are durable plastics. These baits do work good, and I don't know. I get this color. I bought them by the 50-pack or whatever because it was even cheaper still yet. So I've got a bunch of these. I don't need any more of this color for maybe possibly ever. But then we're going to add the swammers into the mix. If you guys can see that, I throw a couple. I've already started mixing up my new tackle box. But I basically have the 275s, just some spares, oddball ones, stuff like that. I've got these are ones I basically took out of the pack and I don't want to put back in the pack, or I took a couple and that was all that was left in the pack, so I don't want to carry the whole pack around, so I just put them in here. So 275-ish, 3.3-ish over here. A couple of them are like bigger ones that start out bigger, got cut down. Even a few different big A baits in there, just random brands. And then this is actually just a combo of a little bit of everything. I threw some of my creature style stuff is in with like the 3.5 or the 4 or the 5. This is just the bigger end that I don't throw as much as when I try to go finessey with that. I just have these randomly in there, so I don't have to worry about if I miss a pack of something. I've got at least 1 or 2 or 3 to 5 of any given size I'm looking for, and just kind of a natural color. And then of course it doesn't hurt to throw a pink and an orange in there just to go crazy. Because like I mentioned, you could always take your standard swim bait and cut it down to whatever length you want, and then just trim it up a little bit, and you still are swimming fairly, let me try to show you. You may not want to start with this guy, but if you just, 275, roughly take a 3.3 or a 3.8, cut it down to around 3 inches, and then there's not much left to do, because once you cut it, you just kind of round the head. It's not a lot bigger profile. It's got a bigger tail, and then sometimes you may just want to try that, just see if they want that. The bigger tail should create more of a, even move the whole jig head around more or whatever kind of thing. So that's kind of what I've done here and there periodically. Like you see, this dude was another perfect example that he still survived, but I used him briefly here and there. Then I've also gone as far as taking the bigger Bass Pro ones, cutting them like way down with that long, slender tail. Just all kinds of different stuff. Like your imagination is your limitation on what you can do with soft plastic, especially like on the swim bait deals. They literally are all the same. They've got a little different body, and they've all got the paddle tails anyway. And then they've got a paddle tail for these, basically Keytech started it, and then everybody and their brother has them, and there's all different sizes, and you can get them from like Big A, you can go to Strike King, you can get them from Keytech, Guggen, all whatever, but you're going to roughly do the same thing. This is one of the only baits that I feel does a little different thing, and a lot of it's just on the fall. If you just let it, as it's sinking down, it kind of has that thing, just like what the Mag Draft, and then these little bitty Mega Bass dudes. But these, I don't know, they're just so, this little one anyway, it's like a 1 or 2 dinks and done. Like they start tearing pretty quick. I'm not a huge fan of the durability on those, the small ones anyway. I've caught several, I don't know, the big ones, they're probably about the same, but they do tend to last, just there's more plastic there. So anyway, I got a lot of different whatever to get figured out. Let's switch away from, oh yeah, if you just joined in, feel free to comment below, at least say hi. That's rude. Not saying hi. Let's get a couple of these baits we've briefly talked about. I just want to, let's open up the Andy Morgan. If you guys don't know who this dude is, well, you're kind of like me. I know the name, but I have not followed Andy Morgan at any extent or whatever. But I've watched his video of him showing this bait. And of course, they all have the same spiel, right? It's like, I didn't want to release this, but man, they, So I'm like, oh, well, I get it. But guess what? You're going to make some money if the jig's good, if people like it. But it looks like it has everything. So it's a very short up there. I guess I should compare it to some of my dirty jigs or my Phoenix. But it has that similar kind of, looks like a cross between the Greg Hackney flippin' fluoro and then some of the dirty jig type stuff. But then it also has supposedly the same, I think, hook or the material. So the Zowire silky gray, but supposedly, let's just do that because this is supposed to have a 5/0 hook. Let's look at the same thing. Let's put Strike King under the microscope. And if you followed like old school back in the day when I first started this channel, you'd be like, what is Charlie doing with Strike King stuff? Because I always dog Strike King stuff. And I still do sometimes, but I mean, let's just look at this, though. Just look at it, would you? Let's pull back the curtain. So let's compare the length to an actual chatterbait. Thunder cricket, that is. So yeah, it is basically the same hook. I couldn't tell you that it's the same. This seems more... Yeah, I would say that that's not this finish that's on the Thunder Crickets. You guys tell me it looks a little darker and a little shinier, I guess, not as matte looking. I would swear that that is not the same. I thought it was supposed to be the same. Now, it may be the same Zowire, but this is supposed to be a 5/0 hook. This is supposed to be a 4.5. So I think they just shorten it because I've not done all the stuff just like tire size, 235, 75, 16, they work together. Not every 235 is the same size as every other 235. The 65, the 70, or the 50 series changes overall, all of it, right? So anyway, same thing on hooks. I think what he's talking about is it's a little more compact, but it still stayed this way, right? Is I think what he's going off of. But, I mean, it looks good. I would literally say, though, that it is not the same finish that is on the Thunder Crickets. But I've been looking at some of those baits, and I think they've just got packaging, whatever. When I was up at Cabela's, they've got several baits up there that say right on them, the owner, jungle, different stuff. It says right on there, silky gray, and it's a black hook. I'm like, that is not... So I don't know if it's just packaging that they're still using up and when they first had that and then now they don't have that finish or something. But anyway. So let's break out, just so you guys can see that this should be the same exact hook on 1/2 ounce, 5/8, whatever. Yeah, same one. You know what though? That hook looks, yeah, I guess they're the same. So anyway, awesome there. I'll get those out at some point. So I'm gonna end this video, guys. 45 minutes. Hey Marcus, what's up? You leaving already?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm gonna end this video. I'm gonna get everything figured out. Possibility, I doubt it since I didn't get up early to go fishing, but it's a possibility I may go buy an SD card and then go fishing briefly somewhere, but probably not. But I'm definitely gonna plan on getting out next weekend. I'm hoping to get a computer figured out. And we will be actually editing and making Bass Bonsai videos, not just doing live streams and then just throwing clips up on the internet straight from the GoPro, right? Straight from the horse's mouth, straight to you guys. No editing, all raw footage. I'm anxious to try these out for a little that finessier type stuff, and then these for some of the bigger soft plastic. So little finessey creature type stuff, and then more just see how this will let these some of these bigger type, whatever we're using. Sweet beavers. I do still have, I don't plan on buying anymore. I do still have some of the rodents, but I probably won't be buying any more of those. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Get out, go bass and bonsai, but whatever you do, make sure you have fun doing it. I got to get all this stuff back in this tackle box.